pre-industrial revolution education and its related systems are almost entirely for ruling elite to manage populace. They're not designed for the average worker. And as a result, they cultivate thinking and communication skills much more effectively. And that's the stuff that is so much more important now and becomes much more important with AI and with other things.
Welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology. This is Darren Pulsford, Chief Solution Architect, author, and most importantly, your host. On today's episode, competing in the age of GenAI with returning guest Michael Greenberg, part 2 of Darren's interview with Michael. How do you see this moving into education? Because if we need people that are more strategic thinkers than just rote doers, we've got to train them.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. Especially,
or can we train them? Or do I need to be able to do the rote stuff? Just like you mentioned with your one freelancer that you hired.
Yeah.
They did all the rote stuff for some time first. Now they understand really how to interact with it. Do we still need to do that first part first? Do we need to train people on doing that and then elevating them up to strategy? This is just a question. It's a crazy, world we're in.
I think there is more value than ever in a liberal arts education and
Really?
in like classical education, because let's call it pre-industrial revolution education and its related systems are almost entirely for ruling elite to manage populace. They're not designed for the average worker. And as a result, they cultivate thinking and communication skills much more effectively. And that's the stuff that is so much more important now and becomes much more important with AI and with other things. Those are the skills that become, I think, more transferable. Whereas like a CS degree is not useful. You need a PhD or a bunch of hands-on experience in order for you to be better than GPT-4 at writing code.
I don't think you need a PhD because right now, but years of experience, yes, you do. You need to understand, and there's some core fundamentals that ChatGPT just doesn't do. It doesn't do really good design. It spits out code. So I think you're right. We need to elevate from typing, right, or coding into software engineering. And I would say that's the same thing for all of the things it can do, like video production, right? Yeah. I need to look more at the design than the mechanics of it, because the mechanics of it, right, that's going to be handled by these AIs. And
did you see the Adobe Premiere AI demo that they just released?
I did. Incredible.
Remove this thing in the background. Add this thing. It's okay. I am a director. What should my scene look like? And that's what you want your videographer to know that. That's what your editor should know.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. So to me, it means, and I like how you said it, we need to get back to classical education so that people could do critical thinking, understand how to communicate effectively. And then to me, have some kind of expertise, something that you're good at in addition to that. If all you can do is communicate, but you have no subject matter expertise, then
you go into sales.
Well, I am in sales now, but then you can sell anything, right?
One Harvard Business Review study always stuck with me, that the most effective executives, the highest performers, the biggest factors were what is the size of their network, how fast do they make decisions, how effective are they at communicating, and then amongst CEOs, uh, you could add in like, did they start the company or did they join later, and how tall are they? And like those are
Isn't
your
that
big
amazing?
guiding factors.
Yeah. So you put your kid on the rack and stretch them out every day, and they'll be a great CEO someday, right?
Yeah, and look, if you can get them above 6 foot, they've got a much higher chance of success.
That is so crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, if you could just make them beautiful, that works too.
Yeah.
Like a very
Well,
attractive person.
yeah, that's even more true now with social media. Let's talk about deep fakes. Let's talk about virtual virtual avatars or whatever the case may be. We don't know that what we're seeing anymore is necessarily real.
And I mean, it only gets worse with time. Um, that's
So how is that going to play in the workplace as well? Um,
I,
and in business, not just. I mean, we could talk politics all day and what's going on with the election and what will go on in future elections with deep fakes and things like that. But what about at work? Or
yeah.
in your day-to-day business, and it is true, if someone is attractive, if we find them attractive, we trust them more, we'll buy more from them. That I mean, that is established, that's been out there for a long time. So how are we going to be able to leverage, you'll no longer
We
see
already
Darren
are.
age. Darren will be always the perfect age with the perfect hair and the perfect skin and everything, right?
Well, I think we already are. If you go to Zoom and you go to your video settings, you can see, oh, touch up my appearance.
Yeah, you're
And
right. You're right.
like, I think we're going to see more training videos with little AI generated people. We're probably going to see more sales teams where you've got a sales manager handling the calls and you've got 10 account reps who are going out and getting leads who don't exist. That's already a very common practice on LinkedIn and Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think, like, beneficially for us, this will make it easier to maintain standardized communication for our brand. When you have an outward appearance, you can have one person and then deep fake that person over any future people that enter the role.
So there's consistent. So you have a consistent. Oh, my account exec hasn't changed in 20 years. Well, yeah. Well, it has, right? So do you see this giving small businesses the opportunity to now compete? Where before you go up against a big business that's got hundreds of salespeople and can canvas much more than a small company. Is this now going to give a small company even footing with some of these big boys that have um, more people, more resources?
Hopefully, I think when the competitive edge is really down to just that labor advantage, the raw muscle or horsepower, then yes, it will level the field. Because with AI and with automation, you can come in and the AI can just do the thing 1,000 times for you or 5,000 times and match the labor output. But if it's creativity, that's the advantage, then the most creative firm is the one that's going to win. And I think that becomes more and more important in messaging just throughout all external communications.
So I had another guest on my show talk about creativity and quality as being key competitive factors in the future, um, which I think is really interesting. The quality of your service or product is going to matter as well, which I like that creativity and quality joint together because I can be highly creative and produce stuff that's not great. Um, that could be passing. I don't know. What are your
I,
thoughts on that?
I think creativity comes from constraints. Uh, and I
Yeah.
think that Not entirely, but to some extent, creativity can be replaced with volume and a scorecard. And so, like,
Interesting.
so we use a technique right now that we call monkey with a keyboard to generate content for myself and for a lot of clients. And the way that works is you create a scorecard for the output and you create your input system. And the input is taking different ideas and mashing them against templates. And as a result, 20-30% of the content it produces is good enough just without a human touching it for us to publish. But how many pieces does it create before 10 get through the scorecard?
200. Yeah.
Could be. I have no idea.
Or 100 or 50, right? Yeah.
And so that allows us to say, okay, the machine cannot be creative, but we can give it enough pieces that it can allow for some creativity to happen.
So are you using that scorecard? Is that scorecard actually like a rubric that I pass into a Gen AI and say, grade this post based off of this rubric? Is that how
Yeah,
you do it?
exactly. And we
So you
might do,
have Gen AI grading Gen AI posts before they go
yeah,
out.
because
That's
it's a
slick.
pretty good grader. A lot of times it might be Claude generates and then GPT-4 is going to analyze against each aspect of the scorecard and create a final grade. And then we'll just have an auto tally. And if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
So those scorecards become your intellectual property that are extremely important to,
Yeah,
and they start describing your company's persona, your company's philosophy on getting out there instead of it just being generic chat GPT going out the door.
yep. And there are database versions of those scorecards we can build. But in many cases, there is simply not enough volume of data in order for us to switch over to that sort of database as a filter system.
I really like this idea because now I can control the AIs based off of these scorecards or policies. So I can create these scorecards to do lots of different things and give me
Yeah,
boundaries, right? And I don't even have to do this with like a RAG model. You're doing this with public Gen AI that's out there,
exactly.
and you're giving it constraints by grading them. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's a cool
Thanks.
idea.
So this is actually designed for like a full RAG model that uses several different vector databases. But it's just that that was designed for Twitter content production for already aged accounts that have, 10,000 data points when we're going
Yeah,
in. And most of the content we're doing, like, oh, we're doing a proposal generator. We only have 5 examples of winning proposals. That's, you
that's
can't
not
use,
enough. Yeah.
yeah. And so this is sort of a hack we created to get around the volume data issue by injecting a human back into the loop, or at least that human's knowledge, to provide clarity so we can breed consistency.
I like that idea. How much time is spent building these scorecards? It sounds like that's where you want to spend most of your time is building those scorecards. So it becomes your threshold. I'm sure you set a threshold. If it goes above this, good to go.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of times I'll do it on a 0 to 2 scale for the AI to grade on. So it's either a 0, a 1, or a 2.
Uh huh.
Because you don't want to give it too much optionality. If you can't do like, oh, grade me out of 100%. There's too much potential for randomness in a predictive engine. But give me a 0, 1, or 2 on whether or not this is a convincing hook. I can do that.
Yeah. No, I like that. I
Um,
like that a lot, and I
Thanks.
can see the application beyond social media. I can
Yeah.
see it well beyond.
To answer your
that.
question, though, um, we do an initial subject matter expert interview. After that interview, that's 30 minutes to an hour generally. They walk us through examples. We ask questions. Why do you think this is a great whatever?
Right.
We create a scorecard. We take in some initial examples. We run the examples through the scorecard. We see if they pass. And we ask the expert to grade using the same scorecard. If we get, close enough matching between the two scores, we'll put the system into production, send the expert 10 good examples, see what we get back in terms of rate. And then we want to get down to a point where we can just send 3 examples and we're passing all 3 every time. That's our
This
idea.
is really cool. It's like a poor man's fine tuning of the model
That's
without tuning
exactly
the model.
That's exactly what it is. And that's what it's made to do. And
Yeah.
because we just want to jumpstart the process so we can increase the volume of data to the point where we can have high quality data to fine tune a model in the future.
In the future. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's always been a problem that in the past with data scientists, my data sets aren't big enough. I got to clean all my data first, and these take months and years of doing this. Now with generative AI, I can pump out a lot of data, score it against my scorecard, and now that and my scorecard can change based off of feedback from a SME, which I think this is actually pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah,
And
it's
I'm absolutely going to try this on my own podcast to see if it will do a better job at producing show notes and posts and things like that. So, Michael, thank you.
if you
Um,
use Claude, um honestly, actually with the most recent update, if you use GPT-4, I it is almost certainly going to outperform like a one shot or a few shot method
oh
of
yeah,
prompting.
I could see how it would. I mean, that's
Oh,
uh,
that's actually the best part. You can use this to bootstrap a system with 0 shot prompts, which is maybe a little too technical, but you don't need to give it any examples on a system like this. You can actually bootstrap the whole thing with
well,
no
yeah,
examples.
yeah, because when I say, hey, give me a prompt for this episode, like our episode here, I'm going to say, hey, I want to promote this episode. I already did the show notes and all that stuff. I want to promote this episode. Here's the scorecard I want you to use to generate 10 really good things. And then I'm going to score you at the end and see which is the highest. I can do that with one prompt. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks. That
that's cool.
I
Michael,
call
this has been. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I actually wrote a whole essay on this called social content limit theory because like I had built some of these systems for social content originally and then realized after I built them, oh, these are actually the fundamentals of almost all content creation systems using AI. Once you're in generative AI, you have to plan for near zero cost of content production and infinite content volume. So you have to build a filter instead of trying to build like the perfect prompt.
Yeah, no, I like this. Is that paper available on the internet?
Yeah, paper might be a strong word. It's a short essay, but yeah, I can send you the link.
Yeah, that'll be great. And we'll make sure the link is on the website so people can see that. But if they could search for it, they'd search for social content limit theory by Michael
I,
Greenberg, right?
let's see if that even shows up. I've never searched that before.
Um,
Um, social content limit theory, Michael Greenberg. It so it will not show up apparently. Instead, little bits of it that I posted on Twitter will show up because they have better SEO than me.
well, send me the link, and I'll make sure we get it put up on our website, and we'll make it go worldwide. You'll be world famous. You'll have to sign, print out copies and sign and send them to people. It's going to be awesome, Mike.
I think this is my claim to fame. Everyone on Twitter thinks I invented the term digital operations because none of them worked at like big enough businesses to realize that I was just pulling an enterprise concept down to SMB. But this one, social, like content limit theory, I think I can actually stake a claim to.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, Michael, if people want to learn more, especially you target real small, mid-sized companies, that's who you primarily work with, correct? If they
Yeah,
want to
like
find out more about what you do and how you can help them, um, how do they reach out to you? And then how would an engagement work with you with them?
yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at thirdbrainautomation.com or thirdbrain.co. That's 3RD brain.co. That's why that's not the one that I give out really. um, but so our engagements work one of two ways depending on the size of the organization. Um, we have customers that are in like that, call it 10 to 50 million a year range. So that 20 to 200 team members
Yeah.
around there. With them, we generally work on an annual membership basis. So we partner with them, we bring in the whole team, all the skill sets, and then we bring in a Rolodex that they can hire from just at cost. So that way they can partner with us because they probably can't afford to actually build an in-house team for a lot of
Well,
these
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. That's a big deal.
And then when they're bigger than that, uh, we work on a similar membership structure, but the goal is setting up a strategy for them. And we're normally working to build like some internal consulting teams and then working with them to set up that resource internally, help educate it, build out that training plan, and then sit with them at the strategic level to stay on top of infrastructure decisions and other big changes.
So I like the approach because it's very consultative, and you're trying to train up their own teams how to do this. It sounds to me like it's a lot of process engineering and automation, and these are skills that are invaluable to organizations, right? And
Yeah.
what I love about what your approach is we're going to teach you how to use these new tools, generative AI, RPAs, and the combination of the two. I really like that approach. I think it could really help some small and mid-sized businesses that are struggling. And and I would say to the large businesses out there, watch out, because these small businesses, if they get their head around how to leverage generative AI and AI techniques, they're going to be able to do so much more than a large company can that has too much cultural inertia that slow them down.
Where I'm seeing clients now where, they'll add 5 to 10% profitability and no headcount. And then they're like, and we added 50% more to our client volume this year.
That's
Or
incredible.
one of our sales guys is sending 1,000 messages a day now. All sorts of stuff. I would say though, the agency model is great for fast implementation. We have some clients that do that with us. We just don't recommend it because nobody should be thinking that this is not something you need to be building an in-house like internal resource for. This is too important of a technology stack uh, to
I agree
be
with you there.
internally.
Yeah,
But
no, I totally agree. Hey, Michael, it's been wonderful having you on the show.
yeah, thank you for having me.
I learned a lot. I think we had a lot of fun. I did.
I I'll come back anytime. This is my favorite topic, and you've got a you've got a whole show just focused on digital transformation. It's I don't know what else you'd want to talk about.
I know. I mean, this is it, right? There's nothing else in the world except digital transformation. So,
Yeah,
all right. Thanks again, Michael, for coming on the show.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it 5 stars on your favorite podcasting site or YouTube channel. You can find out more information about Embracing Digital Transformation at embracingdigital.org. Until next time, go out and embrace the digital revolution.